The views and opinions expressed on the preceding show are not necessarily those of WEHA, Gospel 88.7 FM, Spread the Gospel Inc., or any of its sponsors.
If you just tune in, you're listening to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon right here on your favorite gospel radio station, WEHA Gospel 88.7, 99.9 FM, as we spread the gospel one song at a time. I am so excited. Now, you guys know I say this every week, but I am truly excited every time that I have someone live in the studio, and certainly I'm live in the studio today. I met this great man about November, and he is the mayor of Hamilton Township in the person of Roger Silva. I don't know. I can't say you don't know who he is, because lately he's been in the newspaper with the snow and with 911 dispatch, which we're talking about today. But just in case you don't know who Roger Silva is, I would like for him to say something about himself. Hello, Mayor Roger Silva.
Good morning, Dr. Witherspoon. And first of all, thank you for having me here this morning. It's a pleasure and an honor. And I want to say good morning to your listening audience. I've had the honor and the pleasure of serving as mayor of Hamilton Township. It's my fifth time serving as mayor, and I've been on Township Committee for 9 years. I first got involved in public service in the late 80s. I had worked in Pleasantville a number of years. I served as the Assistant Superintendent of Public Works, and then eventually I became the Executive Director of the Housing Authority, in which I remained until 1997. After that, then I evolved over to the county, where I was the Department Head of Public Works. Since then, I decided that if I was going to be able to afford to live in my community, I wanted to have something to say about it. And I believe the best way to say things about and get involved is to volunteer and to step up to the plate. So that's how I got involved, and that began 9 years ago. And since then, I've been fortunate enough to be reelected 3 times. But my whole thing is it's all about the people. It's not politics. Once you get sworn in as an elected official, I think your primary responsibility is to remember you have to put partisan politics aside and do the work of the people. That's what it's all about.
Absolutely, absolutely. And we want to talk a little bit about Hamilton Township. This is a nice area, and it is the largest land in the whole county.
In the state.
Oh, in the state. I didn't realize that. Now, how much is it?
115 square miles. You know, many times it's easy to say, I'm from the township of Hamilton, and it's the largest municipality, 115 square miles. But if you add Galloway Township and Egg Harbor Township with that, those 3 municipalities together cover over 300 square miles, and that's a great landmass.
Absolutely.
Now, the difficulty when you have a large community like that, you can talk about landmass, but it also brings with it many challenges. And I think we're starting to face them more and more every day as more and more people come through our area. We happen to serve as the county seat. We're actually probably we are the retail center of the county. We're the crossroads of the county because all roads come through our town, and obviously it presents many challenges.
And how many residents live in Hamilton Township?
26,500. Great landmass, not as great in population.
Yeah, but that's a lot of land.
Mm-hmm.
That's a lot of land. So, what are some of the things that are being done in Hamilton Township?
Oh, there's a lot being done, and I think if you look at what most municipalities face today, I think our number one challenge, and I don't care, it could be any one of the 23 municipalities, is the ability to sustain your community in a down market. Ever since the economy hit the tank in 2007, and obviously the rest followed with the closing of casinos and all the massive layoffs, it's presented a lot of challenges. So I think when you look at your community, I mean, there's a lot of positive things that happen, but a lot of it can't happen without people that having disposable income. Businesses don't come into your area if people don't want to invest. People don't spend money if they don't have jobs. And of course, as you look at most municipalities today, their primary source of revenue is real estate taxes. And obviously, when we look at it today, we all understand the problems that all our municipalities are facing.
Absolutely, absolutely. Well, we are here today to talk about the County 911 Dispatch Center. This is a hot topic, and it has been for some time. So this is what we're going to be talking about today, and I believe we have a caller on the line to help us start this conversation out in the person of Mayor Chuck Chiarello, and he is the mayor of Buena Vista Township. And I've known Chuck maybe over 15 years. Hello, Chuck.
Good morning, Thelma. Maybe even longer than that, you know?
I believe it has been longer than that, Mayor Chiarello. I really believe it. You're calling in from the great town of Buena Vista Township?
Yep. And we're out in western Atlantic County, all the way at the other end of the county. But, I grew up in Atlantic City, and my family was in the record business for 25 years there. We had a place called Russ Miller Record Shop, and so my heart is in Atlantic City as well as out here in Buena Vista.
Well, thank you so much for calling in on our show this morning, and we are talking about a hot topic, the County 911 Dispatch Center. And we all know that the county has wanted to consolidate the 911 dispatch centers for all of the municipalities, which are 23 of them. So starting out with you, you're going to start this out with your position on the county-wide 911 dispatch center.
Okay. Well, I mean, let me say that this discussion has been happening about having a consolidated 911 dispatch system for almost 30 years. Now, I've been elected for 25 years, and I can remember back when I first got involved, they were talking about it back then. And the fact is that it has never come together for a number of different reasons, and part of it had to do with, since there was no countywide dispatch, various towns around the county, particularly Atlantic City, Egg Harbor Township, Galloway, Hamilton Township, they've had to go out and put their own systems together, and they've had to spend a lot of money to do that. And, when the county talked about consolidating a number of times over the years, these towns had very big investments in equipment. It's very expensive.
Right, and I have Mayor Silva here to talk about that. I wanted to know what your impact would be if Buena Vista was to be a part of the County 911 Dispatch Center.
Oh, absolutely. What's happened is the county has given us some figures. Currently, we spend about $69,000 a year on dispatch services, which we get through Gloucester County. Being out here in the western end, there's 5 towns out here that get their service from Gloucester County Dispatch. And under the county plan has us paying $138,000 a year, almost double for what our taxpayers are currently paying. And we have very good service. We don't have operators. We don't have a dispatch center. We share those services already with Gloucester County. So for us, the impact is, we just, in these economic times that are out here, we just can't see making our residents pay twice as much.
So you're currently paying about $69,000?
$69,000.
And
the county wants to raise, the estimate the county has given us is $138,000.
Wow, that's a big impact. Now, I spoke with the mayor from Weymouth Township, Mayor Kenneth Hasner, and he told me that he's paying about $10,000 to Gloucester County, and they, with the new county plan, the Atlantic County plan,
right,
it would increase to $20,000. That's huge on their budget for a small town. Now, he didn't have a position for or against because he was hoping that Atlantic County would reconfigure their plans and see how they could assist the smaller townships, because that's a great impact. It doesn't seem like a lot, but
Yeah.
yours would double, his would go up to 20,000. That's a huge impact.
Well, the interesting thing, Chuck, and good morning, Chuck. How are you?
Good morning, Roger. How are you?
I'm fine, thank you. As much has been written and said about the 911 dispatch center, and two of the things that stayed with me after the last two meetings we had, the one in November and the one in December, many of the first responders came to me and they said, Mayor, if it ain't broke, don't fix it. And our system seemed to work fine now. I mean, we can flood the airway with statistics, okay? But the true fact comes down to every second counts on a call. And, those municipalities that don't have dispatch centers, it appears to me that they're happy with the arrangements they have. I've been an opponent of it, not because I'm against the 911, because timing is all wrong. I think until Atlantic City gets on their feet, trying to burden 11 of the 23 municipalities with a great cost, no matter how small it is. Look at Corbin City. I think they would go up, $3,000? Weren't we at a meeting when the woman spoke up and said, how are we going to afford that? They only have about 800 residents in that community.
Right.
This comes down to simple economics, okay? We've all made, those of us that have dispatch centers, made a huge investment because we didn't wait for the county to get on board. We did it in a period of time when it was necessary. Just one fast statistic. 2015, we handled 24,694 911 calls. And of that, over 99% of them were answered in less than 10 seconds. So when you look at all of that, you got to look at, one, the service you deliver, at what cost, okay? Now, the county talks about saving money for the municipalities. Well, you may save it on your budget, but where's it going to go? It's going to go on the county budget, and you're going to pay it one way or the other. Now, until they get their numbers straight, until they get a plan of transition straight, you find it very hard for municipalities like any one of ours to try to buy onto this program.
Absolutely.
Yeah, I agree totally with Roger. I mean, there's absolutely it's a bad time economically, not only for Atlantic City but for the whole county. And you've got high foreclosures, high unemployment, and it's just something that the services are already divvied up amongst the towns, and they're satisfied with their services. And to create this new facility right now is going to put about $30 million in debt on the county tax rolls, and that's not without the operating costs that'll be ongoing. And there's just too many unanswered questions at this point in time.
Chuck, there was a piece in the Voice of the People. It was written by Greg Smith from Linwood last week, and he said that Central 911 Dispatch building seems pricey. Look, the Showboat sold for $23 million, Atlantic Club for $13.5, Trump Plaza for $20 million. There are enough vacant buildings all over the county that they could probably retrofit one without taking on $30 million in debt.
Now, in fairness to Stockton University, I had a conversation with Dr. Harvey Kesselman, because at one point I was under the impression that this was a concept or an idea from Stockton to consolidate all of the municipalities. Now, when I talked to Dr. Harvey Kesselman, he indicated that this was an idea. They heard about it, Stockton. They wanted to know what they could do to help. They donated the land. In the event that all of this was going to come together, they also have committed to donate $4.8 million. But this was not an original concept from Stockton University.
Right.
I don't think any one of us said that it was.
No, but I wanted
you're actually right.
I wanted my listening audience to know, because when we're talking about erecting a new building for it, it appeared, if you didn't really research it, it appeared that Stockton was heading this, and that is not the case.
No, you're absolutely correct, Thelma, and I think Roger's point is well taken, as was the writer in the Voice of the People in the newspaper, that there are probably many more options, I mean, even over the years, we've talked about having regionalized dispatch centers, something in the eastern part of the county, the central part, and the western part. There's many more options on the table, and it just seemed that this came upon us, and all the figures and research for this was done in 2011 and 12. So we know that the numbers we're looking at are not current numbers either, and that's caused a lot of questions. I don't think anybody's against anything in the best interest of public safety. We're just concerned about the way this project is being put together and the facts that we are being given. It makes it a very difficult situation until a lot more is clarified for us.
I have a question, and I already know the answer to this, but Mayor Silva, or you could answer this. Now, Mayor Sherrillo, you don't have actually operators, dispatchers.
Well, we don't in Buena Vista, but Roger has a state-of-the-art modern facility, and he can tell you about that.
Actually, I toured it.
Okay.
And it was state-of-the-art. I was very, very impressed on what I saw. And I want to know, Mayor Silva, what would happen to your dispatchers if this was to come into fruition?
Well, if you understand and met probably the average dispatcher today, they're very passionate about the work they do. In fact, they call themselves communication officers. And if you read the article the other day in the paper that they did on ours, you will see what the dispatcher said, that when you call Central Dispatch on a 911 call, you don't call them for happiness. It's the worst day of your life. And you need to engage somebody who's going to help them get through those difficult periods. Now, to answer your question, what it would mean in Hamilton Township if we went over, we handle approximately 60,000 calls a year into our dispatch center. Like I mentioned earlier, you know the ones that are 911. There's a number of other calls that come in all the time in a variety of different requests. Where are all those calls going to be held? You know, I mentioned to you that 99% of our 911 calls were handled in less than 10 seconds.
Correct.
What happens if you go to a massive unit with 130 dispatchers spread over 24/7 that the county wants to do and hire people at a wage that comes to about $13.46 an hour? By the time they decide where the call's going to go, we could lose that person. Look, Chuck brought up a good point. All the municipalities' primary concern is public safety. We all spend the biggest part of our budget collected money on public safety. We're committed to that. So, you know, I think some of the questions that the county raised about public safety, those concerns could be answered in other ways. I think what they've got to do, look, we shouldn't be trying this in the public. I know the public wanted to have a seat at the table because they feel left out, and I think you've heard that too, Doctor.
Yeah, I have.
And I think we should open it up to that. As far as the rest of it, you know, the comparisons have been made between Gloucester County and Atlantic County. Gloucester County does a phenomenal job, but it's only half the size of Atlantic County. It's 334 miles. Atlantic County, 671 square miles. Geography alone, as we talked about earlier, dictates the issues that you could be faced with. That's why when you hire a communications officer, you better make sure that you hire someone that has the institutional knowledge. They know where the mailboxes are. They know where the alleyways are in Atlantic City.
Right.
They know where everything is. You don't want to lose that professional ability. Now, when the county talked about going with Central Dispatch, when they talked about our employees, we would have to lay them off. What would that mean? We'd have 11 full-time and 5 part-time quality people hoping that they could get hired. Now, in the meantime, with this put out there, what's it going to do to the people who work as communication officers? They might be looking for jobs in other areas, and we don't want to diminish the quality of service that we deliver. So that's the impact. Now, as far as savings, I've yet to see the final numbers.
Yeah, because I wanted to know how much would Hamilton Township save?
Well, they said numbers like 250 or 60,000. I don't believe that. I want to see updated numbers. Now,
that 200.
That would be a little bit over a penny on our tax rolls, because a
Right.
penny's worth about 209,000 in our township.
Wow. So, but now the state-of-the-art system that you bought, how much was that?
Everything we have in there, about $1.3 million.
And how would you be reimbursed if you went to the county?
I don't know.
Yeah, that hasn't been explained or put out on the table to the towns that do have their own operators and communication center. And and I also want to mention something too. Many of the towns around the county have already clearly stated they're not happy with this proposal. And rather than arguing it out, like Roger said in the media, this is something that can be resolved and re-looked at or put on the shelf for now and revisited some other time. But around the county, Atlantic City was the first town to vote against this proposal.
Yes.
And Buena Vista, I believe we came along next, and about the same time Hamilton Township came along, and
Ventnor.
Weymouth Township,
Yeah.
and Ventnor, and Egg Harbor Township, and a number of these towns also have other towns that feed into their systems.
Absolutely.
I know Longport, Margate, every at least half the towns in the county so far have publicly come out and say they oppose the proposal as it exists.
Absolutely, and I spoke with Margate. They have done a resolution and opposing this, and Ventnor has as well. We do have a caller on the line. Hello?
Good morning. How are you?
Hi, is that Vince?
Yes.
Hi, this is Vince Jones. He's calling in from, he is the Atlantic County Emergency Manager. And I called him, and I wanted him to call in on the show because I wanted to have a balance on the show about this topic, the Atlantic County 911 Dispatch Center. Hello, Vince.
Good morning. How are you?
I'm good. I wanted your position from on the Atlantic County 911 Dispatch. Tell my listening audience who you are, and then give us your position.
Like you said, Tom, I'm the emergency management coordinator for Atlantic County. And one of the things I think also needs to be discussed when we talk about this 911 center, while we are looking at a proposed consolidation of all the communication centers, 911 centers in the county, this is also one of the things that we're also doing with this facility is going to be the county's emergency operations center for emergency management. We have things happen every day. We just got done having that snowstorm with the flooding, and one of the things that we're looking to do also at this facility, again, is in this emergency operations center, which we end up helping all the municipalities, all 23 municipalities. We're there to support them during a disaster, and it is extremely difficult to try to help them, try to coordinate resources when, we have so many different communication centers that we have to contact. We have so many different municipal emergency management offices that we have to interact with and interface with and provide resources. And the facility that we're working at right now is inadequate, very inadequate for what we have to do. So, again, the proposal also included that. But getting back to the essential dispatch and the 911 centers, and again, we have in each of the municipalities that have the dispatch centers, they do a phenomenal job. Their dispatchers do a great job, tremendous what they have to do, especially some of the smaller ones. And we're not trying to take away from that. And we fully understand. Believe me, as a taxpayer, we all fully understand. Nobody wants the costs or their taxes to have to go up any more than they are, given the financial and economic environment that we're in, especially with things that are going on with Atlantic City that will have an impact on the county as a whole. So we understand that. But if we keep pushing this back and pushing this back and pushing this back, something's going to happen. Something has to give. And our fear is that we're going to have an incident where the dispatch centers are going to get overwhelmed. We're not going to be able to get in a quick manner, get the resources to the scene that we need to. And, God forbid somebody, first responders injured or killed, and for that simple fact that there was a delay. And that's some of our concern, is the way we're operating today isn't so much the most efficient way.
Okay, well, Mayor Silva, he wants to make a comment on this.
First of all, good morning, Vince. How are you?
Good morning. How are you?
In fact, Vince and I have experience together. We both went through the 97 horrendous storm that we had with it that flooded a lot of parts of the county. So we're familiar with each other's abilities and in conversation. Vince, and your comments make sense, okay? But when I read the headline in a paper that public workers face furloughs, I'm saying to myself, isn't there a better way to go at this thing? Chuck brought it up before. Regionalization would make more sense now than anything to get the three big municipalities to divide the county in thirds and handle this thing. Then you could phase it in on a more open way of doing it. That's the way Gloucester did it. It took Gloucester County, 27 years to get in full operation? First they started with the fire departments, and then they put a few ambulances on. Then in 2000, 8 police departments got on board, and then the rest followed. And then they did wind up saving the taxpayers $7 million. But look, that was done in a good time. When building was booming, ratables were there. We're looking at the exact opposite here now. Okay? Foreclosures. You saw those numbers, 7,587. 5 of our communities between, we have over 5,000 between 5 of our communities. That's horrendous. And if this referendum in November about casinos going north is on the ballot, what's going to happen if it passes? Look, Vince, I think we've got to go about this in a more measured way, all right? And wherever they build a building, all right? But to do it in a phased way makes more sense than trying to do it all at once.
And we're not the other problem too, Vince. It's Chuck. I just find it's going to be also difficult in the burden on towns and their residents. I mean, even if it's a county tax, our county taxpayers in Buena Vista or whatever town have to pay it. Is even the phasing in plan of how this could or couldn't work. What town gets in year 1, 2, 3, and there's a lot of extra costs that are footed during that time period until everybody conceivably is in one building in one location under the current plan. And again, none of us are against public safety, and I think, thanks by the grace of God, we've gotten by quite a number of major storms, whatever number of different varieties we have out there, from snowstorms to hurricanes to derechos. We have gotten through, and there is always a better way. It's just a matter of the timing of this is just a difficult situation, and maybe a year or two from now, we'll be on the right track again.
And listen, both of you gentlemen are absolutely correct. Regionalization, would that work? We're not opposed to that. In the actual study that was done, we did look at centralizing versus regionalizing, and obviously the recommendation from the individuals that we had doing that study, the consolidation study, was for centralizing everything at that time. And like you said, both of you have said it, at that time. Even if we were to look down and say maybe we could consolidate into 3, 4, or even 5, regional centers, the biggest frustration I can tell you and you've heard the county administrator, you've heard the county executive say, is that's, we need the feedback. We need to hear from you. And as I'm talking to you both, we got 6. We only got 6 replies back out of 23 municipalities. Now, I know some of the municipalities are either in favor or against it. I'm not sure in this respect if there's a gray area, but 6 out of 23, we need to, and that's one of the things he needs to hear from everybody. Everybody gets to have a voice in this, and we need to know whether they're for it, against it, should we wait, should we regionalize. We're not getting anything back, with the exception of, and again, both yourself, both of you mayors are coming out and saying, look, well, let's try this option. You're giving us options. No, right. We're not hearing from anybody else, and that's some of the frustration.
Absolutely. Before you say something, Mayor Chiarello, because Weymouth Township Mayor Kenneth Hasner, he was one of the ones who submitted the survey. Is that what you're talking about, Vince?
Yes, correct. Yep.
All right, and Mayor Silva, did you?
Yes, we did.
Yes. And Mayor Chiarello, you did?
No, we didn't, because we pay for a service at a set fee. We don't have dispatchers. We don't have a facility that we operate. We just play. It's like buying cable. We have a service and we pay a flat fee, which is $69,000 a year. There's no other cost upon us beyond that, and that goes for probably about 8 or 9 towns that are around the county. They're paying into other dispatch centers to have their service provided to them.
I was going to ask Vince that question. Vince, do you think that is the reason why the county hasn't got the response? Because I believe Egg Harbor Township dispatches for several municipalities. I know Hamilton Township dispatches for Egg Harbor City. And so do you think that is a reason why you haven't received, the county hasn't received?
Well, the problem, and we understand that they do. Just like Mayor Chiarello said, he pays a flat fee. And he provided that flat fee cost to us, but that's what we need even from the towns that do pay a fee. What is that? We do not know, because obviously we weren't at the table during those negotiations or those agreements when they were put in place. We don't know what these municipalities are paying to these other centers. Those costs have to be captured and have to go into the equation as well.
Well, Vince, look, in this down economy, every Monday I open up the press, and there's 18 pages of foreclosures, sheriff sales. Midweek, you'll see another 3 or 4. And someone tells me this is only the beginning of the wave. I mean, it's frightening to do that. How many times, and Chuck will tell you, how many of residents, Chuck, come to you and say, Mayor, it's getting more and more difficult for me to be able to afford my home. We don't need any. Look, I'll tell you right now, Vince, and I know there's reasons. The 9 years that I've been in office now, all right, the county budget went from $175 million to $201.1 million. The difference in that is $25.1 million over those 9 years. That's the exact size of our budget. Now, they're predicting a possible increase this year. And furloughs. How can you spend that kind of money now? Doesn't common sense dictate that you take a step back and wait until we get through this difficult time?
And the other thing I want to add to that too, Roger, is that, already, as I had mentioned earlier in the conversation, I would say about 8 or 9 towns have already expressed their opposition. And then you have 6 that returned the forms. I think you can get a pretty good read from those feelings. And like I said, I'm nobody's against quality service. And maybe there is some of these other options that are worth exploring. The regional, to me, I could see where the county could easily be divided in 3 and have the best service for everybody and still have additional emergency centers to fall back on instead of having everything in one building.
Well, keep that thought. We need a commercial break. We'll be right back.
All right.
It's good to have 3 up. It's really good.
Everything is great, but I told you before, it's not pronounced Weehaw.
Yes, it is. We say it all the time. Weehaw.
No, it's not. Like, we have this conversation every time I see you. It's been 6 years.
We say weehaw all the time. Now, you ain't gonna tell me that it's not weehaw.
WEHA does not stand for Weehaw. It stands for William and Elaine Hawks, the owners of the station. Okay, so instead of saying Weehaw, try saying our new slogan, We Have Gospel.
You said weehaw gospel.
No, we have gospel.
Weehaw gospel.
Like, I have extra donuts, you may have one, like we have gospel.
Ha.
Have.
Ha.
Have. V-E.
Ha.
Have. Have.
We have gospel.
Right. It's not hard.
Honestly, yes it was.
Okay, well, honestly, give me a break, sir. Okay?
Well, honestly, I think I might just yell weehaw right now at the top of my lungs because I honestly feel like it.
Okay. Well, I'm honestly about to call security to remove you from this We Have Gospel event, and they're honestly going to use force. Come celebrate. This is Black History. We, the officers and members of the Cathedral Grace Family Church, invite you to come celebrate. This is Black History at our new Chelsea Heights location, 3901 Filbert Avenue, Atlantic City, New Jersey, on Sunday, February 7th at 11 a.m. How the Gospel Got to Africa. Speaker, Dr. R. Fulton Hargrove II. Sunday, February 14th at 11 a.m. Black History Before America. America. Speaker, Mayor Lorenzo T. Langford. Sunday, February 21st at 11 a.m. Black History, From Slavery to Now. Speaker, Dr. Larry Dixon. Sunday, February 28th at 11 a.m. Black History Concert with international recording artist, Mrs. Wincy Bryant. All services will be celebrated at 3901 Filbert Avenue in Atlantic City, New Jersey. You are invited to come celebrate. This is Black History. For more information, 609-442-3903. All are welcome. The 5 o'clock hour of power has been a mainstay at WEHA from day one. Its focus is bringing a Sunday morning experience to weekday evenings and features renowned preachers bringing forth the word to encourage all of our listeners during one of the busiest hours of the weekday. Well, we have news for you. The 5 o'clock hour of power is now open to all community ministries. If you'd like to hear your ministry on a 30-minute time slot during the hour of power, you can contact WEHA. We're located at 3 Canal Drive, Egg Harbor Township, New Jersey, 08234. Our number is 609-641-8870. Our email is wehagospel887@gmail.com. And our website is wehavegospel.com. Don't miss your chance to take advantage of this great opportunity to spread the gospel with us. We're Christ-centered, community-focused, listener-supported Gospel 88.7 FM, WEHA. We have gospel.
If you just tune in, you're listening to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon, right here on your favorite gospel radio station, WEHA Gospel 88.7, 99.9 FM, as we spread the gospel one song at a time. This is great discussion. I'm excited with my guests, Mayor Roger Silva from Hamilton Township, Mayor Chuck Chiarello from Buena Vista Township, Vince Jones, he is the Emergency Manager Coordinator for Atlantic County, and now we have another caller in, Mayor Jesse Tweedle from Pleasantville. Hello, Mayor.
Good morning, Dr. Witherspoon, and good morning, mayors.
Good morning, Mayor.
Good morning, audience. And
Good morning.
Vince Jones.
Yes, and we've been talking about the Atlantic County 911 Dispatch Center, and me and you have had short chats about this, but I wanted your position on this 911 Atlantic County 911 Dispatch Center.
Okay, mine is actually a no-brainer because we save a minimum of at least $325,000, which is probably more. But my concern is that we have such an allegiance to my dispatchers. I have some of the best dispatchers around that are very committed and very protective of our community. And my concern is to make sure that they're compromised and compensated if this does go through. You know, as mayors, we all have an intrinsic responsibility to keep our taxes low and do what's best as far as cost savings for our community. But there's other factors that we need to consider. We know that our dispatchers in each prospective municipality really know and understand our needs, each of our needs. So that's my major concern. So it really puts me out there in an awkward position, but the thing is, the bottom line is that it's really cost saving for me. You know, I save the most money throughout the county.
Mayor, you know, I think we agree with you, especially, you know, you feel as confident about your dispatch center as we do. We feel as strong about our communication officers as you do. And my concern, too, was when that comment was made at the initial presentation, that we would have to lay them off and then they could take the civil service test and they might be hired at a wage of $28,000, okay? It's look, many of them have been in, I mean, we have, of our total dispatchers, they have 169 years of experience. Wow. You don't get that walking in the door for somebody who wants to learn. I know everyone's entitled to learn a job, but I feel strong. I think your point is very well taken. I don't want to lay off another person again as long as I'm mayor.
And one other thing, I'm in a unique position because my dispatchers, I think we're the only municipality in the county that they have retirement benefits after 25 years. And I have dispatchers that have been there for 16 and 17 years.
No, that's a good point. I mean, so, you know, you've got to weigh it out. And I understand the savings is tempting. You know, ours was estimated at $260,000. And I have people say to me, are you crazy, Mayor, not to accept that? I said, don't just look at the number. Look at everything that goes into it.
I want to know what would happen if, I know Atlantic City has opted out. I know they've done a resolution. I know Margate. I know Ventnor. I know Hamilton Township. I know Buena Vista. I believe Brigantine, and I believe Egg Harbor Township. I did place calls into Brigantine and Egg Harbor Township, but they didn't respond to me. But I want to know if, Vince, are you still there?
Yes.
In the event that this goes on, and the municipalities that have opted out say we're sorry, we just don't want to participate because we believe that our safety is more important in our communities, what would be the consequence?
Well, if we had, this is where we're at the fork in the road, so to speak. If we have towns that want to opt out, they do not want to participate, but and the county is to move forward. The way this is going to be funded is in the county tax rate. So you're going to have municipalities, in theory, that would be paying for a service that they're not taking, that they're not participating in, as well as still having that same service. So the taxpayers are going to be paying twice for a service. And that's one of the concerns that the county executive has, is that, if we just simply do it and we move forward and we, do not take into account the towns that want to be left alone or don't want to participate, or that it is going to be a more of a cost for the towns, these people are going to be paying for this basically twice. And, we don't want to do that. If we're going to do it, we want to make sure that it's going to work, it's going to be effective, and the service delivery that we're going to produce is going to be good. I mean, we're not going to go into this, haphazardly and saying, well, we hope it'll work or it should work, or we're still going to have some bumps in the road. It's got to be seamless. It's got to be a good transition, or we're just not going to do it. We're not going to risk somebody's safety. It's just not going to happen.
Now, I have a question to Mayor Silva and Mayor Chiarello. We just heard what Vince has said. The counties, your municipalities would have to pay for it twice. If you're already strapped with your budgets, where would you get the money?
Oh, that's an interesting question, okay? And I would hope that the county doesn't go ahead if more than half want to go with this. I think this issue is bigger than just the mayor's making a decision. It's bigger than just committee making a decision. The public has to be informed. And of course, we don't, look, this whole thing shouldn't be about choosing up sides. It should be doing it, look, every mayor, I believe, wants to do the right thing at the right time for the right reasons, okay? And if all of that makes sense, then we got to bring it back, and everyone on committee is going to have to vote on this thing. And the money's not going to come out of nowhere, Thelma, because I told you, with less and less coming in all the time, and more public safety items that we have to build. We're also strapped with a lot of other things today, too. And, we have 5 volunteer fire departments in our community. Getting volunteers is getting harder and harder to get. I don't want to risk any of that by overburdening the budget in a manner in which would be just to say, well, I'm going to run one when they're running one. We've got to make sure that this is done for all the right reasons.
But it seems like your hands would be forced in order to raise taxes. How would you pay for it if you're going to get a service that you're going to be charged whether you use it or not?
Well, we would hope it wouldn't come to that.
Right,
Okay.
and the thing about it is, and I think what was being said is that it would be in the county tax. We are concerned enough for our residents that even if it's removed from the local tax burden, that the county taxes that our residents have to pay, because I'll tell you, any mayor on this line or any mayor anywhere, we're responsible for the whole bill, whether we want to be or not.
True.
In Buena Vista, 17% of the bill belongs to Buena Vista for everything we do, provide roads, services, parks, etc. But 83% of the bill comes from a combination of the schools, the county. We happen to have fire districts out in Buena Vista, and we have 5 of those. All of that together is what the person receiving the bill sees in the mail. And we have a responsibility to try to give them, the best possible services at the best possible price. we don't have that kind of money to spare, especially under the budget caps and the economic times that we are faced with. And Vince is a great guy. He's been helping all our towns for years, and we have great admiration for him. And we're not looking to, we're trying to find maybe some alternate solutions that could work out, with a little more time and energy. There was a time, and I'll tell you this real quick, was that this has come very close to having a vote before. A number of years back, and it might be 8 or 10 years ago, it starts to look like a blur after a while, we had a point where there were about 16 towns, maybe 17 in Atlantic County, that wanted to go into centralized dispatching. And most of them turned out to be the smaller towns, the towns that really, had no choice of operating their own centers. And even with 16 or 17 towns wanting that service, we could not get the countywide dispatch back then because the big towns, had other commitments and other investments already made in the equipment and all. So it's not an easy situation, no matter how you look at it, is what I'm getting at.
And also, Chuck, you talk about it because we've talked about it before. Many municipalities now, in trying to do and save money for their communities, they get into shared services, they privatize a little bit, and they're always trying to find ways to control costs. And it makes it more difficult when you just have another large item on your county tax bill.
Okay, this has been wonderful conversation. I am so excited about all of the mayors who have been. This is the first time with my listening audience that I've had 3 mayors and the Atlantic County Emergency Manager all on at one time. So y'all know I am just souped up. However, my show is coming to an end. So I'm going to ask each mayor. We're going to start with Mayor Jesse Tweedle, Mayor Chuck Chiarello. We're going to ask Vince Jones to give us a comment, and then we're going to end with Mayor Roger Silva.
Okay, I just want to say that, Mayor Silva, you're absolutely right. I'm going to engage the community and solicit their input. I'm not going to make this decision with just myself and my staff. I'm going to engage them and let them know exactly what's going on, exactly what they may be getting into, and that's where I'll leave it.
All right, Vince Jones?
Again, I want to thank you and thank everybody that was the mayors that were on the line. And again, they bring up some extremely good, valid points. And again, I've worked with each and every one of them, and I have the utmost respect for each and every one of them. And again, I think, and Mayor Silva said it, if the time given this environment is to sit down and maybe look at, restructuring this plan and looking at regionalization, then maybe that's something we need to take a look at, and that's something I'll recommend. Maybe let's, for now, looking at regionalization. And then maybe go back 5 years. Hopefully things will improve. I hope for everybody involved, and see what the future holds. But if we think that's a better cost-saving measure and regionalization, then that's something we need to look at.
Okay, and Mayor Silva.
I learned a long time ago when anything is presented, the devil is in the details. And as the details start to surface, I think more questions get answered. So. I agree with Mayor Tweedle, and I think we have to air this in our residents' communication. I think I would elicit more support from it. Our committee was very outspoken about it, but you know what? People can be also. And I always like to listen to the people because they're the ones that make it happen. So I'm just hoping that this thing works its way out in a manner in which everyone, once it goes that way, we all will work with it and make it a success.
I would like to thank all of you. I would like to thank Mayor Chuck Chiarello. I would like to thank Mayor Silva. I would like to thank Mayor Tweedle and Vince Jones. I would like to thank you for being a part of this conversation. I think it was healthy conversation. I think it was great conversation on the Atlantic County 911 Dispatch Center. Did you enjoy our program today? I know you did. Thanks for tuning in to In the Community with Dr. Thelma Witherspoon, right here on your favorite gospel radio station, WEHA 88.7, 99.9 FM. We have gospel. Keep those dials locked to WEHA. We'll see you on next week.
That's the facts. But by his stripes we are healed. That's the truth. Start replacing your facts with the truth. Come on, Vision. Here we go.